We are not hearing anything about Venezuela anymore because of Russia's incursions into NATO territory, and maybe that's the reason. You guys have to remember that Venezuela, while they may be very friendly with China, they are 100% Russia's baby. Russia, or Putin, is what keeps Maduro in power. China's investment into Venezuela is primarily for economic reasons. They want to make sure that they can just keep getting whatever oil they can from the country and any other precious resources like rare earths. But Russia is the top weapons supplier to Venezuela, and they also perform a lot of military training for the country. What's funny is that when the US Navy started approaching Venezuela's waters, Venezuela launched their F 15 Eagles at these ships, not their Russian fighter jets. For those of you who don't know, Venezuela and the United States were quite chummy, which is why in 1982 we actually sold them some of our military tech. Of course, things eventually soured. And as the whole world was watching for a couple of weeks, we were pretty convinced that the US was going to start maybe not directly attacking Venezuela, but at least disrupting as much as they possibly could everything short of war or the invasion. And then all of a sudden, Russia starts invading NATO airspace by putting drones in Poland and Romania, and then their actual fighter jets into Estonian airspace. And then, of course, we're seeing all of this anti NATO fiery rhetoric coming out of Russia. And again, no one's paying attention to Venezuela, and we are seeing that the Pentagon wants to convene with a meeting of almost every single top general, admiral, and their supportive staff within a week. And I was racking my brain for over a week. Why would Russia be doing this? They stand absolutely no chance against NATO. What possible benefit could they have? And then about 10 minutes ago, I realized, now the United States can't easily go after Venezuela because they have to worry about NATO territory being breached. So Russia provided another front for the United States to tackle just in case they wanted to fight Venezuela. And now that makes their push into this South American country a little too risky. We could easily defeat Russia and Venezuela, but it would not look good. It would be very bad for the world economy. It would also disrupt the middle in this country because we don't want a warlike president, and most likely the GOP would get completely trounced in 2026 and, of course, 2028. And why would Russia risk so much just to save little old Venezuela? Well, there's a lot of reasons. For one, Venezuela is a perfect training ground for a lot of Russian weaponry, especially when it comes to radar and surveillance, very close to America's shores. Two, like I mentioned before, Venezuela has a lot of oil. In fact, they have the largest oil reserves on the planet, and Russia's heavy influence on Venezuela can impact quotas and overall output in OPEC+. And Venezuela also provides Russia with a decent amount of gold since this country is sitting on some of the largest gold reserves. So in exchange for Venezuelan gold, which Russia uses to escape sanctions, they sell Venezuela weapons, training, or they influence the UN in voting or vetoing anything that's too harmful to Venezuela. So Russia gets a whole host of these benefits with their strong partnership with Venezuela, and they also get to establish a huge foothold on the South American continent, which has historically been America's playground or territory to exploit. I'm not saying that's a good thing, that's just the history. I would love to hear your thoughts about this, especially if you disagree with what I'm saying, because I'm just pretty amazed at how quiet everyone is about Venezuela and they're just focusing on Russia, Russia, Russia. I am the Geo Husar, and if you learned something about Venezuela in this post, engage with it. Also, give it a save. Thanks for watching.